Welcome to Strut Your Stuff with Studio 3.0. My name is Merlin Corcoran, and along with the Minutes Matter staff, I would like to thank you for giving us this opportunity to show you how our graphic design software will allow you to create professional presentations for your clients and facilitate communication between you and your workroom or installer. Studio is such a versatile program. Once you learn the basics of drawing, you are limited only by your imagination. Let's see what we can do for our imaginary clients, Mr. and Mrs. Newlyweds. They would like to create a warm, updated, traditional look in their master suite. We'll begin by drawing the footprint of the space and planning how we can arrange their new furnishings and incorporate their hand-me-downs. When you open Studio, you'll see a format that may be familiar to you. It's based on the Microsoft platform with the icon up in the top left corner. You click on that, you'll see the options, and then the tabs, Home, Format, and View with all the tools and functions. Along here is the Quick Access toolbar, and below that are the rulers, top and left, and the white workspace. Over on the left, you'll see the image toolbox with the tabs that slide open as you hover over them. Space planning, marketing, and the custom tab that you can add your own creations. We're going to click on the space planning tab now. Wait for that to open and click footprint layout. So you can see we have all the options here for the layout and then furniture and accessories. There are two drawing scales in Studio, the elevation drawing scale, which is 1 inch equals 20, and you'll see a tab down at the bottom for space planning. When I click on that, the drawing scale is automatically changed to the 1/4 inch drawing scale. We're going to import a drawing of their new home. I'm going to click on the Import Image button, click again in the workspace, and locate our drawing. This is the lower floor plan, and you can see it's quite small. And what I've done is I have cropped out just the master suite. So I'm going to import that and work on that. Again, click on Import Image, click again in the workspace, and here it is. In order to make this the proper size, I'm going to use the dimension line from the Quick Access toolbar. And first I'll change the ruler bar to feet to make it easier and quicker. Selecting the dimension tool, I'm going to drag a line. We always drag left to right for a horizontal line and top to bottom for a vertical. And I want this to be 15 feet wide, so I'm right-clicking and changing the dimensions to 15. Now I need to resize this little footprint, and I'll hold down the Shift key to keep this from distorting as I drag out the corner edit point. Then I can move this in place and see how much more I need to go. And I'm positioning that right here within that width of the room. And then I can just delete that. We'll use our Polygon tool to trace the outline of this room. Clicking on it, you'll see my cursor turn to a little crosshair with a polygon shape. I'm going to start at the top left corner, click once, and hold down my Shift key to get a straight line. Clicking over here, up and over. I'm going right past the windows and doors. Click, click. For each click, I'm creating an edit point that I can then move if I need to. Clicking again over here as we get to the closet and double clicking to finish the shape. To get the wall width, I'll go to line width and choose 8. And then I can also change the color from the standard black to, let's choose this charcoal gray. Now I need to see underneath this shape to get the various areas of the master suite. Using the transparency bar, I can just slide that down and make that shape totally transparent so that I can see underneath and begin adding all the architectural details. I'm going to start by tracing around the bath area, again using the Polygon Tool. Click, hold down that Shift key to get a straight line, click, down to this little angle, and that's where I let my Shift key go, click, again holding it down, click, click, and double click to finish that shape. We can add a tile effect to that using the Properties, Fill effects, and I'll go to the Pattern tab and maybe just do a little hatch. Let's see, this is hatch 41, and maybe change it to gray so we get a tile effect in that master bath. The rest of the room I can add a wood finish to the floor or carpet. Again, right click, Properties, Fill, and this time I'll go to the Texture tab, and under the Space Planning module we have different textures just to give the neutral palette a little interest to the drawing. Click OK, and now we have the wood flooring here. We can add our windows, we can add doors. Those are all from the architectural elements. And you'll see closets, different types of doors, bifold, double doors, sliding doors, pocket doors, all different types of doors, fireplaces, staircases, and walls and windows. You can use the walls here to create your footprint, but we find it a lot easier, especially with an odd shape like this, to use the Polygon tool. So we'll select our window, and I can just see through there where that needs to be. Let's use the Zoom tool, which is a very special tool in Studio that allows you to draw a box around the area you want to magnify, so you don't lose your place and you get instantly magnified area. And we will duplicate this. It's very easy to do. You can use your Control key and the letter D on your keyboard, or you can simply hold down the Control key and drag off a duplicate. So there are 3 ways to duplicate. We have a door over here, and we can use this rectangle tool to create an opening here. And I'm going to match up the color to the wood floor. But first I will take away the outline so it just blends in. Using the eyedropper tool from the Quick Access toolbar, I'll click, hold, and drag and just touch that color. And I can change that. Let's just zoom in on this. If we have a 5-foot opening, I can change the dimensions to make it exact. And we can keep going. Let's go into the bathroom, and let's make this a 6-point room there, walls, with line color, again, in that charcoal. In the lavatory category, we can add a shower. Just drag that on. It's just simply click, hold, and drag, and you can see as I hover over it, it shows a larger version of the image. Up here under Format, you can rotate the various images. If I want to switch that over to the wall, I can rotate left. And again, zooming in to place this. And we'll just elongate that a little bit. And in the sinks, we'll get our vanity. And we have many different styles and types. And again, rotating that. And duplicating it and rotating it again for this wall. And then I believe we have our tub here, so let's make that slightly transparent so we can see through it and copy the shape of our tub. We'll use that Polygon tool again. Click, 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 and double click. And we'll select one of these oval tubs. This little handle on the image allows you to rotate in any direction, in any degree. And we could move this also if we like. Placing it on the back. Bring these back up to full opacity so we can see that. And then of course we have our furnishings. I'm going through this a little quickly, but you'll see the finished version in a minute. We'll select a bed for under the window. You can see we have all the different sizes of beds with a headboard and a footboard. And I'll select this one and position it under the window. So these are all perfectly scaled to the 1/4 inch drawing scale. And when you're all done, get rid of the little image that you had dragged on. You can use your text box to add text to this. Double click. We'll type Master Suite. You can put your dimensions on using a text box, and any font you have on your computer is one you can use in Studio. And we'll just make this a little bit larger. You can even make it a color if you like. Let's make it a gray to match this. And when I click away from the text box, all those changes that I just made will take place. And this is what it will look like when you're all done. You can also add the actual fabrics to the bed coverings. If you have a carpet, you can import that. And you can see here I have the 10-foot tray ceiling outline. I have little hangers in the closets just to add some personality. We've added our light fixtures to the ceiling and lamps on the night tables. All the little furnishings are in place, as are the doors and windows. Next, we'll create an elevation drawing of their bed wall, showing the beautiful ensemble that we've created. And of course, we would be saving these files to our client's folder. We've selected this ensemble from Eastern Accents that will come up in a minute. I have several pages in this file, so it takes a little bit longer to open. We've imported these images from the vendor's website to show the client exactly what the trims will look like, and the images at the bottom are studio images that we have filled with the fabrics from this collection. Many designers are now working with clients like our technologically savvy newlyweds in virtual design. Everything is transmitted via email. Photos and dimensions are submitted, and the clients receive a package including a space plan, elevation drawings, and a storyboard with suggested purchases. You can create this all in Studio. Here we have the fabric swatches on the left, and we are displaying the various images along with the pillows, the specifications on those, and the fabrics that we're using. So let's begin by drawing that bed wall. I'll open a new file, and I'm going to enlarge the workspace by changing the page size from the standard letter. This is the default setting, the letter size in the landscape orientation. I'm going to make it legal size just to give myself a little more drawing room. We're going over to the Elevations tab now, and you can see we are in Elevations. We're in the 1 inch equals 20 inch drawing scale, and we're going to select a 9-foot ceiling template. Again, we can hover over to see which one we might want to use. The ones at the bottom with the green text are from the Wall Template module. And this is a great investment if you're doing a lot of bay windows or angled walls. Just click, hold, and drag the wall onto your screen. And I'm going to delete this 9-foot dimension line over here. And let's switch back to inches now. So just right click on that ruler bar and click inches. This wall is already 15 feet wide. If it were a different size that I needed, I could just use the side edit point to drag it out. And I would also drag out the moldings and the floor. If you goof, we have this wonderful little built-in tool called the undo, which allows you to change back, start over, whatever you like. Next, we'll go to step 2, and with our step system, it makes it easy to create an elevation rendering because everything is in logical order. We have doors and windows, both with casings and grills, and also combining grills and casings, so whatever style window you're working on, you'll be sure to find. The little abbreviations, A for arch, AE for arched eyebrows, C for casement, DH for double hung, and so forth. And then the dimensions are provided. I'm going to drag this on, and I'm going to resize this window. Change dimensions, and I'm unchecking the Keep Aspect Ratio box this time so that I can change them, not necessarily in proportion. So this is a 3-foot by 5-foot window. And in order to position it correctly on the wall, I'm going to use that dimension tool again. We're going to place it 12 inches from the wall, from the corner. And we'll draw another one 10 inches below the crown. So again, right click, change the height this time to 10 inches. And using that neat little zoom tool, we're going to zoom in just at the very top of the window and position our dimension lines so that we can get this window accurately placed on the wall. And once it's placed, we can simply delete these. Back over to our Elevations tab, and this time we're going to step 4, Paint and Color. And there are various ways that you can create a color on your wall or any other aspect of the drawing, whether it's the moldings or doors or whatever. We have these little suggested color schemes that you can choose from, or the color cards. And again, hovering over that. Let's just drag this one on, and I'll show you how easy it is to change the wall color. This is all grouped, the crown molding, the baseboard, the floor, and the wall. In order to isolate just the wall, we have what we call the sub-select feature. Click on the grouped image, and then click again on the part that you want to isolate. Using the eyedropper tool from the Quick Access toolbar, this little screen opens, and you just simply click, hold, and drag and touch the color that you want to use. And then click OK. Now only the wall has been colored. You can also use colors from your paint vendor, and I happen to have the virtual fan deck on my computer. I'm going to open that now. And we can show that side by side with Studio. If I can get that to come up. We'll get this resized. Doesn't want to resize there. Place that over there. And it's disappearing on me again. This always happens during the webinar. Stay up there. And anyway, we can click, hold, and drag and touch the color that we want from the fan deck. I'm going to delete this now and begin adding our window treatments. Fabric shades. We have a choice of balloon or Roman shades, all the different styles. I'm going to put a plain Roman shade on the window for privacy. We can just drag that on, resize it if necessary using the side or bottom or top edit points. And now comes the fun part to add the fabric. By right-clicking and using the fill effects, this time we go to the fabric tab. I'll select an empty gray box and then load my fabric that I have saved from the vendor's website, in this case Eastern Accents. And we're going to use a stripe fabric on the shade. I've already cropped this to 2 horizontal repeats. It's a 3.2. This is actually a railroaded fabric, so it's 3.2 for each repeat. We're going to select that and edit it by changing the width and the height. We're going to leave the height the same right now. We're going to uncheck this, leave the height, and what I like to do is look at the length of the treatment that I'm filling, or whatever the image is, and match up the height to that on the stripe. It can be a little bit longer if you like. This only applies to striped fabrics, though. It prevents that checkerboard effect. For the width, I'm going to type in 2 times the repeat, because my sample showed 2 times the repeat. Back over to the Elevations tab. This time we'll go to the Draperies, and we'll select our treatment. It's going to be stationary panels, and the one I've chosen is a basket weave heading. It's very attractive. It looks more complicated than it is. It happens to be a Minutes Matter instructional system, so if your workroom is familiar with that, they can actually use that instructional system to create this design. This looks like a high water flood, so we're going to lengthen it by simply dragging down that bottom center edit point so that the panels are just resting on the floor. And before we do anything else, we're going to change the hardware and fill the fabric. So we're not breaking it apart yet. Go to Image Components and select Hardware. And the reason we do this is so that we don't have to do each one individually. And we can go right to Fill. You can use the gradient fill. You can use one of the textures. But actually I'm going to use a finial from Iron Art by Orion to get my color. And I have saved that. And I'm importing that just the way I did the other images that we brought in. Here it is over here. I'm going to place it on the side eventually, but right now I want to keep it close by, and I can use that to touch the colors to reproduce that as closely as possible. So again, we're going to Image Components, Hardware, Fill, and I'm going to go to the Gradient Fill and select a start and end color using the eyedropper. So the darker brown for the start color and the lighter brown for the end color. And I'll select this horizontal highlight on this one. Click OK. And I can also change the line color from the standard black. Again, using the eyedropper tool, I might make it a darker brown. Click OK and OK. And we can fill the drapery at any time because the hardware itself is protected, and when we fill it with our fabric, it won't have any effect on the hardware. So again, we use the right-click, Properties, Fill, go to the Fabric tab, and this is very important. You'll only make this mistake once. Always select another empty gray box. Don't just go ahead and load it because you'll replace that first fabric. Click Load, and again, we'll look at our view menu there so we can see the actual fabrics. This is the fabric swatch as saved from the website, and this is the cropped version. I've cropped this in photo editing software called Irfan View that we recommend, and this has a 1.5 vertical repeat, so that's why I've coded it that way as I've named the file. When I edit this, I will type in the height box 1.5. The width will change in proportion because I have the Keep Aspect Ratio box checked. Click OK. There's my sample. Looks good. Click OK. Now once I have all this done, I can duplicate this for the other window because, as you recall, they're the same size. But first, let's see what we can do about resizing this to fit perfectly. I'm going to ungroup this, and move the treatment over, ungroup the hardware, and shorten up the pole and move the finial in. Let's move the shade up too. Now we're ready to duplicate this. Right-click, duplicate, or Control-D, and I'm going to position that over on the right-hand side. Now we're ready to add our bed on this wall, and from the bedding module I'm going to select a metal bed. This happens to be the hand-me-down that I mentioned earlier that we're incorporating in their room. And as you can see, there are all different types of beds. We have the angled view and the straight-on view, so depending on the room layout you can choose what you need and just drag that on and position it. And we can also change the finish on this. We can go up to fill color and make it one of these brown shades if we like. Let's try that one. And change the line color too. So you can use the eyedropper tool to touch just about any color you like. Next we'll go into bed skirts and select from one of many different styles here. We have pleated skirts, we have overlays, there are gathered and shirred skirts. I'm going to select this one and position that. This one will have the same stripe as the Roman shade, so it's easy to do. I just click on that and it automatically fills. And you can see the highlights and shadows are built into this design. Next we'll grab a coverlet for the bed. And again, there are many different styles, bedspreads, coverlets, quilts, and so forth. The one I've chosen has a little insert here to make it interesting. So we'll drag that on and add our fabrics. And this one has an all-over kind of a paisley design, and what I've done is I have decided to take this center section and create in Photoshop a more perspective view of this. So we're going to go back in here and change out the coverlet base to match the draperies and import that image of the centerpiece right here in that same fabric to make it look a little more realistic. And finally we're ready for our pillows. There's all different styles. Shams, pillowcases, Euro size. Let's just drag this one on and we'll add our fabric to that. Very easy to duplicate if you want two of them. And we can resize these too if we want to show more of the headboard. And if you'll notice up here, we'll be able to tell what size these are. Now they're about 25 inches high, so we've got that centered. And we'll select some decorative pillows. Let's use this one. In this one we can go in image components and add different color fabrics to each area of it. I'm adding a fourth fabric now. And this one is Doesn't really have a repeat, but each one of these channels is about 2 inches wide. So I'm showing 4 of them. I will type 8 for my width. And once we have one done, we can simply drag off a duplicate. And finally, a bolster or a neck roll. Lots of different choices. And we would do the same thing, adding our fabrics to the various sections of the pillow. And this is what it would look like when it's all done. We've fancied this up a little bit by adding some accessories, some prints on the wall, a little side table from the furniture module with a lamp and some flowers. Here's the rug on the floor, and we've also added an outdoor scene behind the window by making the glass transparent. And here's that angled view I showed you earlier with the fabric swatches enlarged. So if we click on this, we've loaded them again to show it in a slightly larger version so the client can see the pattern. And added a text box to describe them. Once we've finished our elevation rendering, we can simply go to the Home tab and under Add New Page, create a copy of the page, delete the bed. This is for our installer. Use the dimension lines to indicate the width of the pole, the height of the shade that we want mounted, and our installer has kindly offered to hang the paintings too, so we have those here. We've added a text box with a little more description. We can use this exact same rendering for our workroom. Again, create a copy of the page, install specs, click OK, and we can change this to workroom instructions. So without having to do anything else, we can change this very quickly and easily, add more of a description of the size of the shade, the type of treatment that we're doing here with these ruched tabs, describe the lining that we want to use, the diameter of the rod, give all the information that the workroom needs, and we'd have the workroom instructions and the installation instructions all in one file. To send this to the workroom or the installer, we click on the raspberry icon, click Export, and again you have to make sure you're saving it to the client's folder, and this would be called Installation Instructions. You would just rename the file, save it as a JPEG, and then you can attach it in your email or print it out. It doesn't matter. So it's very easy to create that, and as I said earlier, you can have your mood board, your inspiration board, storyboard, whatever you want to call it, by importing images of the accessories, the furniture, paintings, whatever you're using to design the room. You can show the client via email in a storyboard such as this. Lastly, we're going to show you how easy it is to design directly on a photo. We'll open a new file, and using the Import Image button, click again in the workspace, and locate the photograph that you're designing on. We've saved to our Custom tab our logo template, and this makes a very nice presentation. It's a header. Now we have to get back to our letter size paper. You can create a logo template for legal, but this one works better. This photo will be better suited to the letter size. So drag that on and position it. Center your photo. In this case, we can enlarge it a little bit. We'd hold down the Shift key and drag the corner edit point out and position that on the white workspace. Everything must be within that white workspace. The most important thing to do now is to change the drawing scale. We are working in the 1 inch equals 20, but that may not work for this particular photo. And we need to make sure that we've changed the drawing scale so that the images we drag on are to scale, and also that the fabric is the correct representation. You don't want to show the client a very large print on your rendering and have it end up being a smaller print when it's installed. So we'll start by drawing a dimension line on the door. You can use any known measurement, whether it's the width of the door, the height of the door, the length of the window, the ceiling height, any known measurement that you have taken. So here's my dimension tool. I'm just going to click, hold, and drag across the top of the door. And this says that the door is 81.29. It's actually 75 inches. So we'll use the Set Scale tool from the Quick Access toolbar. Click on it. Place the cursor directly in the center of the little green edit point. Click once. Drag it across and release. You'll see this little window open up and you can type in the correct dimension. Click OK. This says 75.38. I was a little shaky on that. So you can start over again by clicking on View, Edit Scale, change it back to 20, and start over. Let's delete this and we'll start over. It's a good idea to zoom in too. So click, hold, and drag. Leave that highlighted. Select the Set Scale tool. Position your cursor directly in the center. Click, hold, and drag, and release. Let's see if I can do a better job this time. 75. Okay. We'll delete that. Now we're ready to add our treatment. And we'll do a similar treatment on this. We'll do a shade. Resize it. Duplicate it. Now this door is open, so it's at a little bit of an angled view there. Let's zoom in and fix this shade so that it fits the angle of the door. In order to activate the red skew perspective edit points, double click and drag that top left corner up to match the angle of the door. This is at pretty much the center of the door, so it's going to stay pretty much level there. We can make it a little bit narrower and add a teeny little return to give it some dimension. We'll go in and get our draperies now. I'm going to use a Euro pleat style. And you'll notice we have Euro pleat with bullion. This is a single width panel, and then it's exactly the same with bullion, but it's a 1.5 width panel. Same thing with the tassels, single width and 1.5 width. You can duplicate this if you need a triple width panel or something like that. So let's drag this on and position it. Make it a little bit longer. Add our fabric. This is a 3-inch vertical repeat, and we have 2 repeats showing, so we're going to type 6 inches in the height box. Let's zoom in and take a closer look at this. To change the hardware, we're using the image components, hardware, fill, and this time we'll just make it a brown wood finish. And now we'll do the tassels. I'm going to use the eyedropper tool to just pick up the color in here. And we can save this color to our custom area to use it in another part of the rendering. And we can also change the line color. It's important to do this because it's a very small image and the black outline makes the tassels look black if you don't change both the fill and the line color. Let's make it lighter. Okay, and the tassels on the other side, the one you're looking at, go to our custom color, and now go to the line color. I'll just touch that. So now we have that part done. We need to ungroup this and move this to the right-hand side. See if we can just grab this all. We go up out of the photograph. I'll go down out of the photograph and just get this moved over and positioned on the right-hand side. It looks like I've also grabbed that little return, so I'll bring that to the front and move that back where it belongs onto the shade. Then we'll ungroup the hardware and move that into position, lengthening the pole and moving the rings. Now I can hold down my Shift key and select both of these shades, and we'll just use the background color of the fabric. Hopefully we can find something that works with this. And we can change the line color on all of these. Let's just do the shades to make it a little bit softer. So a darker shade of that using the value range over here. Just makes it a little softer. Now this looks fine, except it looks like the draperies are floating on top of the ottoman and they're covering up the chair and part of our leaf arrangement here. So we'll need to fix that, and it's very easy to do in Studio. You bring the photo to the front, so we use the Bring to Front button. And now we're going to use our photo clip tool to trace around these furnishings that are in the way of the draperies. The photo clip tool is right up here under the drawing tools. And there's just a little bit of the hearth here that we need to clip, so I'm just clicking, 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 and double clicking. So there's a little piece there. Let's zoom in and get the ottoman. So for every click of my mouse, I'm creating an edit point and cutting out this image. If it's a straight line, I only need one click. Any curved lines, I need 2 clicks or more. Now we'll go over to the chair here. Let's zoom out a little bit more. And we will trace the chair. I'll do this very quickly. And back up, double click. So we don't have to move anything. If this happens, just click on it again. And finally, we'll do this arrangement. Now this is a little bit tricky because it's got so many little sharp edges, and I'm not going to do a super job. I'm just going to go click, 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 down the stem, back up. You can do a couple of photo clips on something like this. If this were a chandelier, you might have to do it in segments. We'll do this section now. And again, I'm doing this very quickly and roughly so as not to bore you. And then once we have all of our furnishings and accessories and furniture clipped out, place your cursor somewhere on the original photo outside the area that you have photo clipped. I'm going to click on the top of the photo up here on the left and send it to the back. And now the window treatment is to the front, yet these pieces are also where they should be. Now, of course, here I went a little crazy and left out some of this. We could have clipped this a little bit better, but I didn't want to bore you. And that's how easy it is to design directly on a photo. The clients love this because they can see their room, their colors, their existing furnishings. You've just added a window treatment or a chair or an accessory or whatever. They can see exactly how it would look in their setting. And that concludes our presentation. We hope you've enjoyed watching this and will be inspired to learn how to use Studio to take your business to the next level.